Good afternoon. All right. Good afternoon, and thank you all so much for being here. Standing here with our CAO, Gilbert Montano, along with Norman White, who serves as our Chief Financial Officer, again, for the City of New Orleans. We're standing here very proud to be here as it relates to, we have completed officially our budget process for next year, that year of 2021. Our City Council today voted unanimously to adopt the 2021 budget after working extensively with our CAO, with our CFO, with our entire team to get to this day and to get to this point. You know, the deadline for adopting the city budget by charter is December the 1st. And so it really speaks volumes that we have gotten to this point today early. And I just want to thank every single member of our New Orleans City Council who really labored hard to get us here. This year's budget, like so much else in 2020, was a tremendous challenge. And that's sometimes even an understatement to say. But unlike any other city, we all know that cities are facing these challenges, the economic challenges. They are real. And this is for our city, I don't think we've seen anything like it as it relates to what we've been through. But the 2021 adopted budget includes $1.14 billion in expenditures from all of our funding sources. This budget will allow the city to keep the operations that are so critical to our people moving, critical projects moving in the city of New Orleans, while at the same time protecting our financial health. As you know, that's been our top priority since we started in May of 2018. As the city recovers through COVID-19, we have really taken the best step forward to again ensure basic city services with no lack in quality. Due to the pandemic, the city is experiencing an unprecedented, as you know, fiscal crisis. And as I mentioned, like all other cities throughout the United States of America, we were forced to cut $100 million from our budget. And at this time, I really want to acknowledge and thank all of our department leadership, our employees that played a role in making those cuts. Very, very tough decisions that were not easy at all, but were critically necessary. We have had to ask, as I mentioned, everyone to be a part of this, to play a role. It really is a shared sacrifice. So as we look forward to 2021, one of the most important factors, if none at all, that you get from us this afternoon is that the city of New Orleans will not carry a structural deficit into 2021. That is huge. And so what that means is that, we're being, again, very practical, looking at our fiscal health and not spending more than our revenues would allow for, even when the economy picks back up. We have been very intentional throughout this process and transparent about the challenges that we collectively have to deal with. And we'll continue to do so. With our residents and our partners on the New Orleans City Council, it's critical that everyone goes into this with all eyes open, managing the expectations and also level setting the expectations. That has meant, again, making very hard choices. And it has meant being deliberate about how we allocate our spending, again, to preserve and protect city services and the city's credit, which is, again, very important. We came into this pandemic with a very strong and vibrant financial position. And because we made the hard decisions, because we stayed focused and smart about making the right choices on the front end, the city of New Orleans did not have a decrease as it relates to a downgrade in our credit rating. That is huge. Many cities are experiencing that right now. They're being downgraded. The city of New Orleans, because again, the hard work, and even in the midst of the pandemic, we were not downgraded. Something to be proud of. The 2021 budget package we presented was solid. It was well thought out. It was surgical. It was comprehensive. This budget is lean. And this budget process really has been sobering, to say the least. But we are emerging from it again in a very strong position. New Orleans took an unimaginable blow this year, no doubt, as did all local governments, as did our business community, as did our employees, even as they've had to endure the cuts for this current budget year of 2020. The 2021 budget also includes a rededication in terms of a renewal that will be going to the voters on December the 5th, asking for the voters to approve this renewal package. It is built into our 2021 budget. It will mean an upward of 23 to 25 million tied to the 2021 budget. This is not a new tax. It will come not only as being restructured, it will come also with a tax decrease that will hit our people, and they will see the savings January of 2021. Again, this is a good day for the city, and I do want to just thank, since I mentioned that, I want to, before coming in here, I was notified that the Gambit did support our renewal package, and I thank them for that, and I hope to see more coming. It's the right thing to do, step in the right direction to again serve the public. At this time, I'm going to ask my CAO, Gilbert Montano, to come forward. He's worked so hard. Thank you so much, Gilbert. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Norm. You know, you're only as effective as the people that you surround yourself with. And we have a leadership team in this city that is second to none, and I'm so proud to serve with them. So at this time, Gilbert, come on up.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Norman. I'll be brief with my comments. I said a lot at the council meeting earlier, and it was a tough ultimate budget for everybody. This isn't a budget that you would slam the football down. It's sobering. Cutting $100 million from your entire workforce is significant. We understand that comes with significant challenges that we're ready to face. Implementing this budget will probably be the most daunting piece of the overall perspective that we're going to have to start as early as December 1, just to make sure that our agencies are ready to bear the brunt of that $100 million cut. But as the mayor said, it is the right thing to do to maintain fiscal integrity for our overall organization. It's vital for us not to borrow our way out of these problems. It's important for us not to leverage or over-leverage ourselves, so we made tough decisions and tough cuts. And we understand some of those cuts come with sacrifice. And we are proud to say that built into the 2021 budget, there are no layoffs. So although there is a shared sacrifice amongst every employee, no employee has to go in and say, I don't have a job anymore. And we're going to continue to fight to ensure that that's the case. Want to thank, of course, Norman and I have dozens of team members that would be too many to name that we certainly want to acknowledge and thank. They are really the engine that keeps it going, and of course the mayor and her leadership, and certainly the city council. It had been certainly a tough process. It started back in March when the pandemic hit, when we started really trying to evaluate an unknown destiny where we would end. And in some cases we still are, but we've tried to make the best of what we know at the moment and continue to watch it as we move forward. So I wanted to thank the council and the leadership of the council and all the council members for all their work regarding this, and especially our teams and our employees, that I know is going to be a challenging year. We know it's going to be a fluid year, but assure them that we are doing the best to maintain their job integrity and come out of this the best we can. And should we have some level of investment of a stimulus program or the like, we certainly want to make it a priority that we are able to restore those funding for those agencies and those employees. Thank you, Mayor, and I will turn it back to you.
Thank you. And Ms. Latanya, we can roll right into questions and answers if there's appetite for that.
WDSU.
A couple questions. Which agency are you most concerned about that's because of the cuts y'all had to make? And Pano sent out a letter saying they're concerned about public safety considering the NOPD furloughs. What's your response to that? They're saying public safety is at risk because of the amount of officers that have been furloughed.
Well, first of all, I definitely understand that the shared sacrifice has had on all of us, that we've had to make cuts and yes, implement furloughs. However, data doesn't show at all that services and the quality of services has been downgraded, and it will always be a top priority for me and my leadership team to ensure that we keep city services and the focus on our people our top priority, and that speaks to not only public safety but all of our departments, quite frankly, that are so vitally critical and important to the people that we do serve. We are taking and making every effort, as you know and as we've said, to get our fair share, and not let up on that at all. But one thing we can guarantee, and as demonstrated in the budget that was provided, that there are no layoffs associated with it. And as the city of New Orleans sees a revenue stream moving in the right direction, and even by way of a stimulus package hopefully coming from the federal government, we will reevaluate our financial position as well as our ability to look at furloughs moving forward. And we've taken the steps as an administration with the civil service, even as we've told our people in good faith, should we receive adequate resources, then we would be in a position to, I would say, reimburse our people. But that is not something that we can do right now, but it does speak to steps that we've taken to pave the way for that to happen, should again we be in a financial position to do so. But we're making taking all the right steps necessary to be fiscally sound, as well as to ensure that quality services continue to be rendered to the citizens of our community, which includes public safety.
How much are you, with the changes with Carnival, how will that impact the city budget? I know that it's such an economic force for the city. How will that impact the city budget and the city's money?
So the city of New Orleans spends about $7.3 million to host Mardi Gras. And the revenue generated that comes to the city is a little right up at $8 million. So that's almost a wash. However, the impact to our businesses, we know, is significant and definitely far greater. And so it's just not the city of New Orleans who will lose out on that revenue. It really does speak to our small businesses that stand to lose the most, including the state of Louisiana. That gets a larger portion, again, of the tax revenue generated off of hospitality in the city of New Orleans.
Last two questions. There's response to some crew captains saying they're proposing the idea of a later Carnival later in the year. Is that something you're interested in, or is that, I know it's day by day.
Right. Well, it is day by day, and the city of New Orleans, I'm sure better than I do. So we live off of festivals and events. So it's not just Mardi Gras, right? It's many different events. And I know that there are several that are doing the work right now, doing their due diligence, looking at alternative dates in 2021 that's just not about Mardi Gras. So all of the, so that's something that has to be taken into consideration when you're only targeting one particular event, but also the impacts to the revenue and having a lack of to stage and host at the level and scale that we know that we would need to.
So is it something that you're wanting to do or open to, or?
Well, I am open to listening to all alternative ways to celebrate Mardi Gras within the guidelines at the state and local level. And so I have not received a request for that. I have not received any real details as it relates to rescheduling, but it is something absolutely I will be open to. But again, it's the fiscal implications as well as factoring in other events and festivals and activities that we enjoy throughout the year that are on a calendar, you know, a rotating basis that we've just grown accustomed to.
All right, Foxy.
On the lines of businesses and economy, do you have any concerns right now about the rising numbers of COVID again and the upcoming, Thanksgiving holiday?
Sure. Well, you know, I'm always concerned about the rise of COVID cases in the city of New Orleans, and have been really on the forefront of trying to keep our city as safe as possible. I definitely am concerned. My health director will be going to the public on tomorrow with just looking at the rate of spread, kind of giving you all a sense of, and really a bird's eye view of what we're looking at, the data, and where you can see the increase, and then also where we've been and where we are now. That will impact where we go in the future. My hope, as I've always said, once we moved into easing restrictions, was not to go back. But again, that depends on the public showing personal responsibility and wearing that mask and being in compliance with the guidelines that have been set. It really is that simple. But unfortunately, that has been a huge challenge to overcome, which we see the spike that we do believe was associated not only with Halloween and how folks celebrated that, but also how it coincided with Hurricane Zeta. So I'm looking for another weeks of data before rolling back, but it's something that is absolutely, as I've always said, would be a consequence if we do not follow the guidelines. And so, again, personal responsibility. Thanksgiving, absolutely, because that's next week. When we've asked people listen, please, do not celebrate Thanksgiving as you have in the past. I've heard from people as of today saying that they've canceled plans in the first time in 78 years that their family will not be together, and they've also decided they were canceling, Christmas in their traditional fashions. And so this virus is causing us to do things differently, and we're going to need to do that in order to stay safer. And rolling back again is not something I desire to do, but with compliance. So we're going to take another push, as we approach the weekend, to get people straight, and hopefully they comply, and we'll be better off because of it.
WWL.
Yes, ma'am. The firefighters union is saying that the furloughs delayed their response to yesterday's deadly fire on Johnson Street. Can you give us your reaction to that claim?
Sure. There's no data that supports that at all. And even on the New Orleans Police Department side, we know that it's tough, meaning a furlough day. We understand that. Everyone's on a furlough. And then I have people who are furloughed who are working on that day. And so it is something that we've had to do. We understand the impact, but data does not suggest in any way that the services to the public have been jeopardized.
Any other questions? The active.
The increase in the furlough threshold from 30 to 35, where is the money coming from for that, and how much is it?
What are you saying? I don't understand. What you're saying, increase to 30 to 35.
During the council meeting today, the council members.
So you're combining both you're combining our 2020 as well, or you're just taking the 21.
Sorry.
You're taking the 2021.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The council members said that they're moving the salary threshold for the furloughs from $30,000 a year to.
Oh, okay. No, you
$35,000
mean,
a year.
okay. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. That's,
With the preamble.
yeah, exactly. So this is something that we also discussed when we went on furloughs. was one, we wanted to ensure that if the city, regained some revenue, that we would work to make our people whole. In addition to that, we ran the numbers and wanted to make sure that we exempted our employees that make $35,000 and below. So we were able to make that work. The actual number is at one point. What was
It's about
1.9?
and we're gonna get it through wage reserves and attrition.
Yeah, so looking at the 35,000 threshold, I know that it was the right thing to do, but it came in at that price tag about 1.9 million. And again, it's the vacancies, it's the savings that we'll be able to realize those costs going to our people.
Anyone else?
Just to make sure
Well, payments going to
the budget is 1.4 billion.
1.14 billion.
1.1, and then taking $100 million cut because of the financial.
Taking a $100 million cut. Again, not wanting to have a structural deficit, being very prudent and sound in our practices. And so yes, and that $100 million cut, it was painful, but definitely necessary. We have to maintain a healthy financial position. We do not want to be downgraded at all. And that will have an even more significant impact on our financial position in the city of New Orleans.
One last question, if you don't mind. This weekend, some Carnival captains said they were a little caught off guard by the way the decision was announced.
Mm-hmm.
What's your reaction just to some of them saying they were a little caught off guard, or way they thought they were going to have more of an input through the meetings? Just your reaction.
Right,
to that.
so what I articulated, and even my team earlier in the week, was the same that I articulated in my public meeting with the crews directly. And that was coming up with alternative ways to celebrate Mardi Gras given the current guidelines that are in place. And looking at the current guidelines that are in place at the state level prevents gathering sizes above 250 people. Truly a parade, that's a gathering size. And so unfortunately, there was some blowback, I know, this week, but I've said the same thing over and over and over again. Also what I said in the public meeting with the crews was that when we had Mardi Gras this year, 2020, we didn't know COVID was in our community. We were not forewarned. We had consistent communication at the federal level, asking as we prepare for Carnival every single year with a unified command. But this year, as we move towards 2021, we know COVID is among us. So when those questions were asked, did Mardi Gras 2020 cause all this? And the one person that stood up and said absolutely not, and not only that, and gave reasons as to why, that was me. And so I will continue to stand and do what's necessary to ensure the public health of this community. And that means that no, in regards to the 2021 and based on the guidelines that are in place, parading just simply cannot be allowed. So thank you again so much. Anything you all, Gilbert, you need to add, or Norm, that just, okay. Well, thank you again so very much.